So this is the pure 4x4 Base Camp 7.0. It's like different than any event I've ever been to. It's 8:40 and the DJ is starting, and by like 9 o'clock, music will be going. It's just a giant party for an entire weekend. And it's close to home, so it's easy to do. But they do this thing called Baja Design's Lumen Hour, where they literally, and it sounds weird, they turn on their lights and drive around camp for an hour. And you say that and you're like, oh, that's gonna be dumb. And then you watch it firsthand and it is hilarious, because they'll have like a school bus with 50 people on it, and there's like people standing on the roof and the school bus is ripping down, and there's like 100 Baja Designs lights on the school bus. And they'll like stop, and then somebody will run over and drag a keg onto the school bus and then keep driving. Like it's a big party. They all drink Hennessy, and they're all trying to get us to drink Hennessy. Day one of Pure 4x4 started out for us heading over as a group to John Bull. Now, I would say that John Bull is probably one of the harder trails up in Big Bear. It's fairly iconic, it's pretty easy to spot. It's littered with lots of big rocks, and while it's not exactly what I would consider the best trail to get your feet wet, we decided we were gonna go into John Bull and shoot some content. So we wanted to do videos on the new wheel that we were going to be about to release. We wanted to shoot Chad's new 4Runner that we just put on portals, and shoot a couple rack specific vehicles. So we entered the trail backwards, knowing that it's not going to be a very busy day. This was still midweek, and typically these trails are wide open during the week. So, you know, as expected, we didn't really run into any groups and made it through, shot our content, and moved on to the next one. Walking down the exit of John Bull, just straddling boulders over here. Don't worry about Eric. So from John Bull, we ended up heading down to Hulham Creek. Now, Hulham Creek is, to me, I think it's one of the more challenging but more scenic routes. It has some fun little rock gardens. The first one that we come up to, I decided I was going to lead and try to pick lines for people, because some of our group, actually most of our group, was running in vehicles they hadn't actually been in before. So this was my first time pushing the Ranger Raptor into rocks, and was seriously impressed. You know, the wheelbase on this thing is longer given that it's a pickup, but at 128 inches, it had no problem through, you know, tighter turns. Yeah, you have to back up once in a while, but guys got out, wanted to kind of check out the first rock garden, spot stuff through. And so I kind of jumped out with a radio and played guide for the day. Super fun trail, great entrance. You kind of tuck through some of these more foresty areas. And Big Bear in the summertime, to me, is just one of the best spots to wheel in Southern California. It's not the most hardcore, but you can definitely still put yourself into some scenarios where you're dragging axles, scratching up things. So you still have to be cautious in the Big Bear area. There are definitely some fairly tricky obstacles to navigate. Straighten out a little. Tanner is one of our techs who brought his old second gen 4Runner out. He has this thing lifted, believe it's on 33s, maybe 35s. And he was actually the only guy in our group not on portals. But Dude, the thing did amazing. Tanner has very little rock experience, so I tried guiding him the best I can. And then it came the Bronco. So I called a buddy of mine, Shane Henry, who I've known and wheeled with at Johnson Valley for the better part of 20 years, and said, hey dude, you want to drive the Bronco? He jumped at the opportunity, and so I stuck him in the Bronco. And while this was his first time ever driving a Bronco, Shane is no slouch in rocks. I mean, he's one of the guys, he's physically cut trails at Johnson Valley, has named obstacles. For those of you that know Ballerina Rock, that's one of Shane's claims, is he was the first guy to name, or he actually named Ballerina Rock. The 392 I gave to one of our techs, Frankie, and Frankie's been in the off-road industry for 20 years, doing R&D, all kinds of stuff, and so he and his son hopped in the 392, and as you can see, I mean, this rig just works. It's meant for rocks. Given that it's on 40s, there's nowhere it doesn't go. So Hulham Valley, Hulham Creek Trail gets into all different types of terrain, and that's one of the reasons I think it's one of the best trails in Big Bear, is you get such a variety from sandstone to rock gardens. Hulham has just kind of a little bit for everyone, and there are some definite challenging obstacles later in the trail. This one we stopped and filmed at because it kind of, videos never do things justice, but it puts you off camber and really kind of flexes out the suspension through stuff. You can see Chad doesn't have a front locker. No problems at all. That 4Runner just kind of goes wherever you point it. Same with Tanner, he took a slightly different line, but you know, there's nothing wrong with independent front suspension. I'm personally a big fan. The Bronco just walked through it like it wasn't there. I think some of that is the vehicle, some of that is just Shane's experience in driving. And when you watch the Jeep go through, well, a 392 on 40s makes everything look kind of small. You know, it flexes out a little bit, but just walks through pretty much anything that gets thrown at it. So coming up through this section, you're kind of at the entrance of the trail. And then we're gonna come up on a rock garden, this one right here, that proved to be an interesting scenario. So, you know, I've been doing this stuff for a little over 20 years. I have never once in 20 years of wheeling seen what ended up happening just ahead on this rock trail. So this little rock garden, you know, you pick your way through it. There's some decent sized boulders. I'll make it through no problem, and then I'll pull up ahead, jump out, and I kind of wanted to guide guys through to make sure that, you know, nobody had issues, and we're out here to have fun. I had my son, my wife in the truck with me. We're not racing. We're trying to make sure that everyone gets through, that nobody has issues, and just that it's a good, fun afternoon. So typical, Eric in his JK walks right through this thing, no problem. This thing's set up on 40s. He's got a Dana 60 rear, 44 front, portals on it, and it just crawls. He's got lockers front and rear, although a lot of the day we didn't even use them. So that rock that I'm standing on right now is going to turn out to be a problem for multiple people. You can see from this angle Chad's smashed tailpipe. We actually smashed it the day before, cut it off, and it ends up kind of burning a little hole in the bumper. But no harm, no foul. But what you will see is up ahead, so we had just filmed a video on the new Method wheel that we were releasing as a collaboration project with Method, and potentially foreshadowing, I don't know, but I talk about the placement of the valve stem on our method wheel versus a lot of the other ones. And right here, Chad rips the valve stem off his wheel.
Hold on, stop. You have metal valve cores, bro. Huh? Well, he had 4 metal valve stems, now he has 3.
It happens, man. You got the wrong stuff on, you break stuff off.
Got metal valve stem.
So then Shane rolls through, and in the exact same spot, ready for it? Not planned. Total fluke. I've never seen 2 valve stems rip.
Valve stems don't like that corner.
The valve stem rock.
Oh my gosh.
Same tire, same rod, that motherfucker.
So I thought I had Colby
I have
valves
4 cores.
in my glue tread
We have
kit.
2 rest spares.
It turned out my glue tread kit was left at home.
So this is one of the reasons why we like the method wheel that we're selling now, that exclusive one, is because the valve stems are tucked at a different angle and inside of the wheel, so you can't do this specific thing. You're not going to knock off valve stems like this.
So with 2 broken valve stems, we ended up getting Frankie through, and then we figured we'd assess the situation. What we were able to do is fire up the air compressor on one of the vehicles and take a blowgun and physically put air back in the tires, and then take a self-tapper. Well, we tried, as you'll see, we tried whittling wood down. That didn't really work, but we did have some self-tapper screws with us. So we were able to take a self-tapper and thread it into the core of the valve stem and plug both of them. And so it worked, and we were able to air the tires up to, say, 15 PSI using a crude method of just shoving air back in, screw some self-tappers into the valve stem, and we decided to keep wheeling because no reason to let that ruin your day. We're not going to run back to camp. This section of the trail, another big rock garden, this is kind of the main obstacles on this trail. And, you know, this was much more dug out than I have seen in previous years. And you can see there's some pretty big rocks here. And so we made a call that, you know, Tanner's rig on small tires. And I'll be honest, I was iffy if I wanted to take my Ranger through it, just because I was nervous about dragging the rear bed. And quite honestly, like, I don't really see a need to mess up a brand new vehicle with only a couple thousand miles on it just to push it through a rock section. So I jumped in my 392, and every time I do this, I fall in love with the vehicle over again because it just walks through anything. Ran through this, and then we kind of broke as a group. So there was an offshoot off this as kind of a bypass that I wanted to try. I've never actually taken it. So half the group went and took a right-hand turn at the entry to the main obstacle on Hulham Valley, on Hulham Creek, that is. And we came up through a totally different section that I hadn't driven before, and it turned out to be really fun. Some good little obstacles, some off-camber stuff, some side hilling. There's just so much variety of terrain in Big Bear that you really get to experience all kinds of stuff. Highly recommend, you know, summertime Big Bear wheeling. It's just nonstop fun.
Hold on, Tanner, hard drive. You need your front end way over. There you go. Nope. Stay driver. Don't push into that.
So Tanner makes it through this section, and our group was now down to 3, where the 2 Jeeps went through. So this is interesting off camber that had a big drop to the left. And I just wanted to kind of stay high, feel out some side hilling. I think we probably freaked out Chad a little bit on this one, thinking he's going to slide. But, you know, I think it's fun to kind of push vehicles a little. And this is how you learn where tipping points are. Not that we were going to tip stuff over, but feeling out off-camber situations, I think, is a good thing to get more comfortable in vehicles. And I was going to spot people through, and we had a discussion leading into it, like if you feel the vehicle start to lift, turn downhill and give it some gas.
As he starts going, he turns down into it.
So these twisty sections through here are just rutted out kind of old dirt roads that had some fun little sections to flex vehicles out. And overall, it's just, I don't want to say it's easy. I don't want to say it's hard. It's just, this is what we come for. You know, we come to go explore and check out new terrain. And, well, that's why we get off the grid and go off-roading. It's just a fun experience. Despite only having limited travel from the Watts Link, I'm really surprised at how much the Ranger Raptor did flex. Part of that is a functional wheelbase, but, you know, oh, Chad gets a little dicey on that. We got a chance to go through some flexy stuff, lift some tires.
Yeah, you can just drive through.
Just different terrain.
This thing's wider, so it like does really well on this little path.
The Bronco could have made that rock garden very easily at Hulham, but Shane decided just to kind of hang with us because, you know, as we get older, like, we don't get that much time to hang out together. And, you know, the days of us running out to Johnson Valley and running trails for the weekend, I don't want to say they're done, but they've been on pause with family and work and all that stuff. So just, you know, part of the fun of off-roading is just getting out with friends. And Big Bear's a close, easy spot in Southern California just to do that. So the final rock garden that we discovered on this trail, this offshoot, is this downhill, some big boulders, some twisty sections. It actually was pretty challenging. And, you know, at one point I had to go out and spot. Chad ends up lifting a tire pretty good on the bottom section. I think it freaked him out a little. Right where I'm lifting a tire right now, he ends up kind of getting a little on the tippy side, but everybody kept it dirty side down. No issues the whole day. Just some fun stuff. This was Chad's maiden voyage, as I mentioned, in the 4Runner. And while he's wheeled lots of small vehicles, he was a samurai guy for years. It was really his first time in this type of, you know, bigger, heavier vehicle, and his first time in a rig on portals. And he did great. It was just a fun day, good overall vibes, and you know, it's always good when the group goes out, nobody has any major issues, you get great scenery. We ended up coming out and meeting the group at Hulham Creek. The other side of it has some really fun water. Got to take my kids swimming a little bit, push them in the pond, and just enjoy the outdoors. Just a fun day. Good group of guys, good wheeling, good vibes.
Yeah, climb it with the ass end.
Hi.
If you've never been to Pure 4x4, absolutely worth it going to. It's not like your typical off-road event. These guys do a great job. It's a big party, but it's also super family friendly. And it's just a local event in Southern California. We try and attend every year because it's fun. It's really all about having fun, getting out there. So if you like this kind of content, do us a favor, subscribe, helps us grow our channel, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks.